Is it fair to say this landlord exodus is not just anecdotal, it's statistically verifiable? And then in Scotland, where we've refused to learn lessons from their withdrawal of Section 33, which was our Section 21 equivalent north of the border, what about the Scottish rent shock then that's been going on? So what's been going on? Well, they've released some data, rent statistics for the year ending September 2025. They're saying affordability's hit a brick wall in key urban areas, but inflationary pressure has shifted violently to peripheral markets. But it masks a huge divergence according to the data. And the overall health of the economy, as evidenced by this report, is highly fractured, with inflationary pressure relocating to the lower end of the housing spectrum due to chronic supply shortage. So, translating this structural stress into UK residential property impacts is fairly straightforward for buy-to-let. Landlord sentiment, rent growth in your Lothians and your Dundees and your high value areas, a dire signal for landlord cash flow. And flat or negative growth in prime markets. So why would you invest in buy-to-let? Deeply, deeply unattractive. Unless, like I say, you're getting a great deal on the way in. It's bearish data for house prices in investment heavy urban centres, and the loss of profitability drives landlord sentiment towards liquidation, potentially increasing the level of stock on the market and exacerbating the affordability crisis by further depressing the supply of rental units. So, lack of appropriate returns on capex, compounded by high interest rates, housing starts remain in an ugly state, and the supply crunch, which is the true driver of long-term rent growth, 66.3% up cumulatively on two-bed properties since 2010 in Scotland, will not abate. So continued rental market instability in Scotland is pretty much guaranteed. So is it fair to say this landlord exodus is not just anecdotal, it's statistically verifiable? If you think we've moved up fairly significantly from Jan 2022 number in terms of units, but down significantly in number of landlords, this is the hard evidence you were looking for. Market liquidation, consolidation of asset owners. If you know the number of landlords is falling, the true loss of available rental stock is likely underreported by the current property register figures. The real number of available units is much smaller. Then the market is shedding capital providers at a measurable rate, suggesting that investment profitability, already crippled by high debt expectations, has collapsed, which will only exacerbate the chronic supply crisis and future rental inflation.